Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime with Jess. Sorry I've been away. I haven't been on holiday, in case you think I've all been sunny up in sunny Spain or something. I've just been having a bit of trouble with my data and Wi-Fi, and it just seems to be one problem after another at the moment, but I am here. Thank you so much for not unsubscribing. I watched a programme not too long ago. I've been asked to do some more up-to-date stories because I do tend to cover like older stories that have possibly been forgotten, but horrible, horrific crimes are committed every single day, and over the past 30 years, would you believe 15 prisoners have been released that go on and kill again. 15, that's one every 2 years, which is, it's scary, and there's obviously an error or some problems within the justice system, parole board, whatever decisions they're making and criteria they're ticking off in their little boxes for these people to be getting released back onto the street. It's not working. It's not. When one every 2 years that's how it's working out. It's over the past 30 years, 15 have been released to go on and kill again. So that's how I've worked it out. But that's a disgrace. That's, you want to feel safe. You want to think that the justice system, we all know that, killers, murderers, rapists, they never get the time that you expect them to get, want them to get, feel they ought to get. They never get that. But you want to believe that when they're in prison, they're being monitored and are being psychiatrically assessed before they're released back onto the streets again. And it doesn't seem to be, based on these statistics, that's happening. Maybe it's happening with some, not others. Some are slipping through the net. I don't know. I have said before, I don't pretend to be up on laws and, the logistics of all that sort. I don't pretend to be, but to me it's common sense, really. You shouldn't let someone who's done a horrific crime back out on the streets unless you're 100% sure they're not going to do it again. And I'm going to tell you today 3 stories of killers that have been released back onto the streets that have gone on to do it again and utterly destroyed 3 families, tore them apart. And the first story on the show, it's told by Amy, and she's the daughter of Janet Scott. Now, Janet Scott was 51, and Amy goes on to tell us she's got 5 brothers and sisters, so there's 6 of them. And she tells us about her mum, that, her mum was married 4 times. She was looking for that happily ever after. She was looking for that Cinderella story. And basically in April 2017, Janet meets a man called Simon Mellors, and he started off lovely, as they all do, very charming. He made out he'd been travelling the world for the past 12 years. He offered her the world. And this woman who was looking for this fairy tale ending, she fell hook, line and sinker for this man. And 8 weeks after he met Janet, he admits where he really was. For not 12 years, for 19 years. And he'd actually been in prison for murdering his ex, and that was a lady by the name of Pearl Black. Now, Pearl had been with Simon, and she, he was very controlling. She didn't want to be with him anymore. He wasn't a nice man. And he didn't like that. Psychologists on the show say that the most dangerous part in a relationship when you're with a controlling person is at the end, when you're trying to end that relationship. That's when it can go very badly wrong, and it did. And he basically snuck into a house. Don't forget, this is his ex, Pearl Black. Snuck into a house while she was asleep, hit her over the head with an iron bar, and strangled her and killed her. Now, in 1998, he'd been given a life sentence, but he'd been released. I think he got 18 years of his life sentence, he did. And obviously he gets released and he meets Janet. Now, he does tell Janet this, obviously makes it not as bad as it was. You know, he's not that person anymore. You know, he really hopes she can forget that and forgive that, and, like, you know, they can move on together. And because it was 8 weeks into the relationship, Janet had fell for him. You know, it'd been a bit of a whirlwind, and he took her out to nice restaurants, and, you know, they'd go to nice bars, and she fell for him. Now, Amy, I believe it's her eldest daughter, not happy with any of this, as you'd imagine. Your mum's dating a convicted murderer. You're not going to be happy about that. And she actually books a meeting with, now, Simon was on parole. He was out on parole. He hadn't been out long. And she books a meeting with his parole officer, and Simon was there, Janet was there, and obviously Amy. And she asked the parole officer outright, do you think he's capable of doing this kind of thing again? And the parole officer said, well, I don't think so. That's how it came about that it was said. Now, whether that was how it actually went, this is how it was portrayed to me. It was just like, well, I don't think so. But from that, whatever comfort the family got from that meeting, the relationship carried on. And from then, he literally moves in. He starts becoming very controlling. You know, she doesn't get to do her own shopping anymore. He's changed all the cupboards around. Now, the kids do come round and visit, and they notice that's not their home anymore. He's completely took over. He's took over the amount of time she can see the kids. You know, he's basically isolating her. A little bit like James Patterson Smith, Jimmy Smith from the Kellyanne Bates story that I've done. You know, it's all about isolating that person and getting them away from anyone who can possibly talk some sense into them and give them another outlook, and, like, this isn't right. To the point where, because the only person they're seeing is this controlling figure in their lives, it becomes normal. It becomes normal to them. You know, and months go by and his controlling gets worse, but 9 months in, Janet's had enough. You know, she knows this isn't right. He's not a good person, possibly, definitely hadn't changed. And she calls it a day after 9 months, much to, obviously, her kids, you know, happiness, really. You know, they're like, we need him out of all our lives. Simon's not happy about this, of course. You know, he's losing this control over this woman who he thought he had pinned down. And he starts stalking her. And there's text messages from Janet to her daughter Amy, just basically saying, you know, he's following me again. He's following me to work. Janet works at a night shift in a supermarket. You know, and he's following her there. He's waiting outside. You know, she does report it to the probation office. Nothing gets done. Nothing gets followed up. And on the 29th of January, 2018, so, you know, 18 months ago, Janet's asleep after a night shift. And he goes into the house. He had a key. I don't know why she didn't change the locks. Sorry. But, sorry, she totally threw me off. He's got a key. I don't know why she didn't change the locks. But he lets himself in. Goes upstairs. Obviously, Janet's asleep. He stabs her twice. And there's signs that she's tried to get away in the house because there's blood smeared around the house. He drags her outside and drags her into his car. Don't forget, she's done a night shift, so this is probably very early hours in the morning. You know, I'm not sure what time, but maybe there wasn't a lot of people around, I'm not sure. But he drags her into his car and he drives her into Nottingham city centre where he lives, you know, around to his flat. And as they're getting closer to where he lives, obviously she's panicking. She's thinking, if he gets me back there, I've had it. She jumps out of the moving car. This woman honestly tried to save herself. She genuinely did. She jumps out of the moving car. She's been stabbed twice. She's you know, she's very badly injured. And what it was, she's seen a traffic warden, and she jumps out, obviously within view of this traffic warden. And this traffic warden is trying to help her. He's trying to stem the flow of blood. And Simon carries on driving, turned round, and at full pelt, so foot to the floor, heads to the pair of them. So not just Janet, this innocent bystander, traffic warden, who's trying to help her, he ran straight into them. And the traffic warden sent 15 foot off the ground. But Janet was actually crushed between the car and the wall that was behind it. And yeah, she died. She died of her injuries there and then on that street. She died. And she genuinely tried everything, by the signs of it, to get away from this guy. No, she was that badly injured, her face completely. Basically, they could only identify her through dental records, hair samples. You know, there was not a lot of this woman left for the family to identify, but the family couldn't say her, obviously. On the 31st of January of 2018, so he hasn't been out long. He's been out less than 18 months. He's charged with murder of Janet and attempted murder of the traffic officer. That traffic officer spent a long time in hospital after the injuries that were done to him. So you would expect to get some closure for the family and the traffic warden. You know, their lives changed as well. But, you know, this Janet's poor family, Amy and her brothers and sisters, you know, they're awaiting a trial. They want to see that this man never gets out again, ever. He doesn't give them that. He hangs himself. He was taken off suicide watch. For whatever reason, he was taken off and he hung himself. Coward to the end. You know, he did write a note admitting what he'd done. Well done. Well done. You know, I'm sure looking up from down there, you know, you're happy with yourself. But the family can't move on. You know, not only did he kill himself, so they're not getting justice in that way. Why was he released? Why was he released? He'd already killed one woman and destroyed one family. Why was he released? To destroy theirs. Now, there was an inquest held into Janet's death, obviously. And there was failings identified within the parole board and the probation office service. You know, the parole board for thinking he was, you know, okay to be back on the streets. You know, thinking he wouldn't do it again. That I don't know what they think. The probation service for not keeping an eye on him. You know, not watching, monitoring him properly. Now, November 2018. Not long ago at all, an internal serious case review was done. There was an apology from the Ministry of Justice for the unacceptable failings, but they're still waiting. They're still waiting. There's no date for an actual inquest into her death and everything. They haven't got that yet, and it's very sad. On you know, watching them, and you do see two of the other siblings, and her son stood there, you know, going, I'm a 16-year-old boy and I haven't got my mum anymore. It's very, very sad, and they need answers. They genuinely do. just like the second story I'm about to tell you. Like I said, there is 3 cases that I'm looking at, but apparently there's another 12 more of families that have been destroyed in the past 30 years, you know, convicted murder, you know, being released. But this is the story of Linda McDonald. Now this is up in Dundee in Scotland. And Matt tells the story of his wife Linda. And basically Matt got home from work and he seen Linda wasn't there. And as he has a look at the back, basically you see their house, and at the end of their, it's beautiful, and at the end of their garden, they've got the back gate, and it opens out onto these beautiful fields, like really nice, and like a wooded area, and it's just a lovely, it looks like a lovely place to live. And she walks the dog there, and 2 people come up to me and say, have you seen Linda? Or is Linda in? And he was like, no, I think she's walking the dog. Because there's something going on up there, police are up there. And basically, he finds out that it was Linda. Linda's been attacked in the woods. And he sees the ambulance bringing her out, and she's just top to toe in blood. She's covered in blood. They don't know if she's going to survive the hospital work night and day. And you know, thankfully, Linda does survive. She does survive this attack, and she survives enough to explain what happened. And basically, she was walking her dog, and she said it was a lovely day, and she just wanted to get out and, you know, get out and have a walk through, you know, off the cupboard, whatever saying it is. And on her way back, she notices a man coming towards her at speed, looking quite angry. And she said when he got past her, she was quite relieved, only for a split second, because she heard him go about 6 or 7 steps past her and turn around, stop and turn around and come back towards her. Can you imagine how that would be? You know, that sort of relief when, you know, you've obviously been intimidated by this person, you're happy they've left, gone past you, then you hear them stop. But as she turned, she could hear him running towards her. As she turned, she just seen a dumbbell coming towards her head. She said it was that pain, like, it was that vicious. She actually didn't feel it. So you do hear when there's a level of pain reached, you don't actually feel it, and it must have been that intense. And she says she tried to talk to him, just in that split moment, just to try and humanise herself, and she was like, please don't do this, please don't. But he raises it up and he brings it down again, and that was it. Everything went black for her. But what she'd done, before it went black, she was screaming. She was, you know, what else would you do? But you do hear, you know, you can go into shock as well. But luckily for her, she did it, and she did scream. And there was dog walkers around there, and they disturbed him. He ran, and she blacked out. Now, straight away, the police have a name, straight away, and it's a lad called Robbie McIntosh. Now, when Robbie McIntosh was 15, so still a schoolboy, there was a lady called Anne Nicol, very similar circumstances. She was just out going for a walk in like a wooded area, and came across Robbie McIntosh. And like I say, he's a schoolboy, so not very intimidating, you wouldn't think nothing of it. He stabbed her 29 times. 29 times he stabbed this poor woman, and she died. And this was 15 years before this. And yeah, it was said at the time, this lad's pure evil, he can never get out. But for some reason, that was in 2002, so we got 15 years. Now, for some reason, in August 2017, what's the 15 years? He was granted a week's home leave. Now, it said about Robbie McIntosh, the right psychiatric assessments weren't carried out with this lad. 5 days into his home leave. This guy hasn't even been released. He's on leave to see if he can fit into the community, if he can fit into being back on the streets again. It's not even like he'd been released. Like Simon Miller's, like he was out, all right, he was on parole, but he was out. He could live. This guy was just on a week's leave. He was going back. And 5 days into it was when he attacked Linda. You know, I think it's safe to say this lad never should have been walking the streets again. You know, to do what he did at 15, you know, you're like, can he be rehabilitated? Obviously not. He was given a lifelong restriction order on Linda. He was sentenced to 5 years. Now, I don't think I've got this wrong. I genuinely don't. And if I have, please let me know. But it says he's sentenced, lifelong restriction on Linda, so obviously can't ever go near her. It doesn't seem the type of lad who cares. Sentenced to 5 years, but it was said to the jury at the time, he'll never be released. Very confusing, very confusing. I mean, they've said he'll never change, he'll never be released. But Matt and Linda, obviously, again, just like, you know, Janet's family, they want answers. And in their serious case review that they had from the Scottish Parole Board, he wasn't monitored at all when he got out. At all. He wasn't monitored at all. And to date, they haven't had an apology. You know, I think they're waiting for an inquest as well. It's just a lot of hanging on by the sounds of it, an awful lot hanging on for these people who it should be automatic. You know, here's what went wrong, because we were watching him. He was only out of prison for 5 days on his 7-day home visit. How could they not? 5 days? It's not like he was out for 6 months and they'd lost track of him. 5 days? I'm so sorry. I'm so frustrated by this. Now my third case. Now this was told by a lady by the name of Nicola, I've got to pronounce it, Gogarty. It's Gogarty. And this is in Sheffield. Now Nicola's dad, John Gogarty, came from Ireland years and years ago and moved to Sheffield. And he was actually very successful. He made a very successful life here. Now I don't know if Nicola was back and forth because she has still got quite an Irish accent, but he'd settled here in Sheffield and lovely life. You know, he worked hard. He was everything you hear, lovely guy. But in July 2015, John had retired, so he was just in effect chilling at home. You know, just having a chill day. When Ian Burley and his girlfriend Helen Nichols decided to break into his house, they demand his bank card and his PIN number, which I'm presuming, you know, he's handed that over. And once he did that, then they proceeded to stab him to death 69 times. If you imagine, 69 times in this old man to death, killed him. You know, oh God, it's just this poor man's worked his whole life and give his family a nice life. And when he retires and thinks he can enjoy the rest of his life, it's taken away by just a horrible little man and his girlfriend. Now they find CCTV, the police do, because just like with Robbie McIntosh, they have a fair idea who this might be. A very similar case, you know, again. And they found CCTV of Ian taking John's money out of the bank machine, you know, using his card. Now him and Helen are arrested and charged with his murder. Now don't forget, this is in 2015, 20 years before, you guessed it, in 1995, Ian had murdered and robbed another pensioner who was on his own. Same crime, committed 20 years later. And that was 69-year-old Maurice Hoyle. He bludgeoned him and stabbed him with a whiskey bottle and stamped on his head. 69-year-old fella. 69 years old. God, he was a real hard man, wasn't he? Ian Bailey genuinely was taking on a 69-year-old pensioner. But that was 20 years ago, 95. 18 years later, he's released. And 18 months after that, he kills John. 18 months. All right, he lasted a bit longer than Robbie McIntosh. A bit longer than, Simon Mellors. But, you know, still did it. Now, Nicola, who's obviously John's daughter, and she's telling the story, she actually said that Ian was laughing in the trial. No bother, no remorse, couldn't care less. Same thing again, just, it's another old fella, isn't it? I needed the money. Now, on the 7th of December 2015, Ian gets a whole life term, meaning he'll never be released. Now, in the stories I've done, Georgia Williams, I think the lad in that, I can't think his name, I should know his name, Ryan. Jamie Reynolds, sorry, get done for that one. Jamie Reynolds, sorry, he got a whole life term. There's not many, you know, convicts that do end up with a whole life term, but they finally realised Ian Bailey might not be right. You know, and doing it 18 years previous, didn't quite because he did it. But he got a whole life term, and his girlfriend, partner in crime, Helen, got 20 years. So she bloody should. Now, it takes 3 years for an inquest to be held. Like I say, these families, you don't want to wait for answers. You know, you're grieving. You want to be able to move on in the best way you possibly can after something like that happening. You don't want to constantly be looking for answers. You want them. So, I mean, it's not going to make you feel any better about what's happened to your family member, but it'll just give you that little bit of closure. 3 years. I mean, like I said, the other two cases still ongoing. But in March 2018, a review was done, and it was found that he'd been taking drugs. Now, under his parole, you know, there was no drugs, no alcohol. That they were the terms of his licence. He'd been doing drugs, and they found out twice. Now, once he was supposed to be returned back to prison, but he wasn't. Twice they found out he was doing drugs and still left him to carry on. And what had happened was he spoiled in his drug taking again with his girlfriend, owed drug dealers money, and very similar to the first case with Maurice, just needed money. And John just happened to be that unfortunate soul that he decided to get that money for. Couldn't even just take the card and the money. What do you have to kill? You know. So there was definite failings found in the probation office. An inquest was held, and the coroner's conclusions. Now you see them actually come out of the court case. The family. His offending manager didn't know he was drinking and taking drugs, even though he'd failed twice. And the probation service and lack of supervision of Ian probably contributed to John's death. And that's an inquest. That's a family who got answers. You know, I don't know what to make of that, because even when hands are being held up, what's getting done? Now, at the end of the programme, there is some absolute dribble, I've got to admit, written in all three cases of the stories you've watched. Just basically, you know, the powers that be weren't doing the jobs they were hired to do, changes have been made, and we're sorry. Very similar writings for each case. You know, yes, we messed up. There will be, you know, repercussions for certain members of staff. We're very sorry what happened to your family member. That's how that's how I'd take it. I'd just be like, that's true, but can you, under no uncertain terms, say this is never going to happen again. And no, because there's something badly wrong where checks aren't being made before these people are being released back on the streets. Now, if it's just these 3 cases, and I don't say that lightly, but if it was, it could, they've answered. But it's not. There's another 12 cases over the past 30 years where, have been released. And it's very scary. It's very unnerving. There could be someone living a few doors down who had committed a terrible crime. You would never know. Haven't possibly been rehabilitated, while they've been in prison and are not being monitored out on the streets. That's a very, very scary thought. I don't know about you, but blows my brain. Especially with these stories I'm doing, it's like, oh my God, just to make it worse. But yeah, that was my view of the programme Release to Kill Again. If you've got any comments, or if you've got any more details or anything that you'd like us to look at, please drop it in the comments. I'd love for you to subscribe if you feel like it. Press the button. It just means you'll get my videos first. And just thank you so much for putting up with crazy in the background. I'm not too sure exactly what she's doing at the minute. But yes, and apologies again for the delay in the video. I will be hopefully back on track very soon. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.